welcome back to Dottie's Adventures. Okay, this video is slightly different to my normal van build stuff or van life adventures stuff. I've been really shocked this week to find out that in just 49 days since I posted my first video on Dottie's Adventures, I've actually got monetized on YouTube. Now, 49 days, exactly 7 weeks, is pretty good going. It's not the quickest by any means. I'm sure other people have done it quicker. But generally speaking, to get monetized through YouTube, on average, I think it's somewhere like 6 to 12 months for most people who really kind of are pushing to grow. I've been on and around YouTube now for 4 years, and it's been a hard slog. So when Dottie's Adventures, when this channel has done so well in 7 weeks, it's been, well, a bit of a shock to the system, if I'm honest. So I thought in this video I would just share a little bit about why I think Dottie's Adventures has taken off, and a little bit about what that means for me as a creator. Now, I do know that this is not my normal content, so if it's not for you and you're not interested, obviously I totally understand. There'll be no hard feelings if you want to, shoot off and give this one a miss. However, you might find it interesting. I think for me, I've always found it quite interesting how, I guess, what drives people to want to have a YouTube channel, what the incentives are, and how it all works. So I'm going to share some of that. So if you want to hang around, that'd be lovely. If it's not for you, of course, normal service will be resumed in the next video. What I wanted to do is just talk to you about, there's 4 things really that I've written down. One is, what is monetization? What does it mean? What does it take to get monetized on YouTube? Just so you've got a bit of an understanding of what it is I'm talking about. You might be like I was when I first started, not even know that you can get monetized through YouTube. But I thought I'd just explain some of that, especially if it's something that maybe you're thinking of doing. Maybe you're thinking of starting a YouTube channel, or you're in the early stages of building a YouTube channel. That I just share a little bit about what that all means. Point 2 is, why I think Dottie's Adventures has taken off so rapidly. I smiled when I wrote this one down, because I wrote the title, A 4-Year Overnight Success, because it has taken me 4 years on YouTube to get to where I am. So the fact that I've got monetized in 49 days doesn't mean that I've done it in just 49 days. There's a lot gone on before that. So I thought I'd talk you through that as well. I also thought I would share some of my own financial goals and perhaps tackle the elephant in the room around money, because quite often it feels a bit ick, doesn't it, to talk about money. But I thought I'd share with you my thoughts on getting monetized and whether or not, creators should be getting paid for creating content. My own thoughts on that. And then the 4th thing is, should you start a YouTube channel? That's really, I'm just going to share my thoughts on whether I think it's a good or a bad idea to start a YouTube channel, especially if you're a woman of my sort of age. Do I think it's a good idea? So I hope you'll find it useful and interesting, even if I know it's not my normal content, so bear with me. Okay, so let's go back to point 1. Apologies as well if you can hear the rain. I will just tell you right now, I've already recorded this video once. It was 40 minutes long. I did it on my GoPro, and then when I look back at the footage, I have volume for the first 8 minutes, and then the volume dies. I was gutted because there was nothing to tell me that the volume wasn't working. Persistence, there you go. Anyway, what does getting monetized actually entail? What is it? What do we have to do? So monetization on YouTube comes in 2 stages. I call them first tier and second tier monetization. I don't know what the proper terminology is, but basically When your channel reaches 500 or more subscribers and 3,000 public watch hours, that means your videos have been watched in excess of 3,000 times and they are published as public, so everybody can see them, and you've published, I think it's 3 videos within the last 90 days, public videos, you're eligible to join the YouTube partnership program or partner program. Now that happened for me last week, and that opens up things like memberships. So if you want to, you can have a paywall where people subscribe and get additional content from you, or early content. Now at the minute I'm not really interested in having a membership. I struggle enough to get content out for everybody else, let alone content that is just members only. But that is one sort of income stream that opens up. Also a shop front, so you can have a YouTube store and sell merchandise. Again, that's not really something that I'm interested in, but it's another income stream that's opened up. And the third one is super thanks. And super thanks are sort of a way for the audience to give a donation, I guess, as a thank you to the creator for creating content. I'm going to talk more about super thanks when I talk about the financial side of YouTube later on in this video. But basically they're the things that open up to you. So there is a potential for income. It's not massive, to be honest. What most of us who are building a YouTube channel with the intention of getting monetized are really going for is the second tier, which opens up when you have 4,000 subscribers or more and 4,000 public watch hours, as well as 3 videos published in the last 90 days. Now I hit this on Wednesday. It's now Friday. I hit this on Wednesday of this week, and I actually weirdly got my 1,000 subscribers and my 4,000 watch hours on the same day. That I don't think normally happens. Certainly on my other channel, I got to my subscriber count far sooner than I got to my watch hours. Other people hit their watch hours long before they reached the 1,000 subscribers. Mine just both happened to come on the same day, on exactly 49 days or 7 weeks since my first video. And once that happens, it opens up AdSense. And what that means is the adverts that you see throughout various videos, at the beginning, at the end, and sometimes midway through, or mid-roll they call them, they happen all of the time anyway. But once you reach that second tier of monetization, then the creator can apply for AdSense and they get a percentage share of the ad revenue. It's based on a cost per 1,000 views, and it's not huge, to be honest. It's not the most lucrative way to make money on YouTube, but it's the kind of the goal that most of us strive for. That first goal is second tier monetization, and as I say, I hit that on Tuesday quite quickly. I was losing my train of thought there. So that's kind of how monetization works. I could go into way more detail. You probably wouldn't be interested, but that's the basics of how it works. So going on to point 2, 4 years to become an overnight success in 49 days. So I've been doing YouTube for, well, probably about 4 years. I started it because I had a business, and my business mentor at the time said, you should really have a YouTube channel so that you can promote your business and showcase your knowledge through YouTube. So being a good little student, I did what I was asked to do, and I set up a YouTube channel. I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't know how to use a camera. I was actually recording my videos using Zoom and just downloading the recording. The editing was pretty non-existent. The quality was horrific. I wasn't creating any thumbnails. I didn't know anything about packaging the video. I didn't know anything about monetization. I didn't know you could get paid for doing YouTube. I was very, very new. And I kind of posted stuff for about 6 or 8 months. And then I kind of lost interest because I wasn't seeing any benefit to making these videos because nobody was seeing them. Nobody was seeing them because I didn't package them. So YouTube wasn't showing them. Anyway, I kind of lost interest. But about 2 years ago, I think I'd started to realise that I quite liked the idea of YouTube. I was watching more YouTube. My brother had a YouTube channel that was doing well, and he was starting to make a bit of money from it. And I thought, oh, maybe I need to look at this again. So I started another channel. Well, actually, that's not true. I tried to reinvigorate the old channel, and somehow, I don't know what I did, but I lost all of my content and had to start from scratch anyway. So I started a channel, and it's currently called Being Bev, but it's been so many things over the last 2 years, and it was a hard slog. I think I got monetized probably after about 18 months or so. I think I started it in March 2023, and I think I got monetized around about July last year. I'm completely losing track of times, but it took me a long time to reach monetization, and it's currently sat at about 1,800 subscribers, and I've made the grand total in the whole time I've been monetized of about £60. So it's certainly not a big money spinner. And the problem with that channel was I didn't really know what it was about. It kept chopping and changing, and there was no real theme to it, and it was just not growing very quickly. I then started a second channel a couple of years ago it is now called The Good Life, or at Thorough Good Life if you search for the handle. And that's the channel where Mark, my husband, and I kind of vlog about our van life journeys and travels and things like that. But again, it's quite small. I think it's got about 740 subscribers, something like that. It's just reached first tier monetization. We're nowhere near second tier yet. So I've had a lot of experience with YouTube over the last few years. I've done training courses, I've been part of memberships specifically about how to grow on YouTube. I have watched hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of the gurus teaching you how to do YouTube. So I've kind of served a pretty good apprenticeship. I've taught myself how to edit. I'm still not brilliant at it, but I feel as if my skills are better than they used to be. I've got better at being more natural on camera. I've learned techniques around storytelling, and I've also learned an awful lot about how to package your videos with thumbnails, titles, descriptions, keywords, etc. But it's taken me a flippin' long time to get those skills, and it's a constant growth and learning curve. So whilst Dottie's Adventures has only taken 49 days to get to monetization, it's actually taken me 4 years of hard slog to get there. And some of the things that it's taken have been persistence, pig-headedness, an unwillingness to give up, even when I've really, really felt like I wanted to. As I've said, hours and hours of learning, lots of trial and error, lots of getting it wrong, I still do, recording a whole video and then finding I've got no audio. It's taken a lot to get that knowledge, but I think unwittingly when I started Dottie's Adventures, I've brought to this channel all of that learning and all of that experience that I've built up over the past few years, which has given me a head start. I don't think, this is my opinion and I might be wrong, and I'm sure there will be people jump in the comments and tell me I'm totally wrong on this, but I don't think many people could come into YouTube without any experience at all, whether that's social media in other areas or performing skills of some sort, and have immediate success. I just don't see how it can happen. I think you've got to serve that kind of apprenticeship, if you like. So I think there's a lot of groundwork being done. I also think there are a few things that have happened with Dottie's Adventures that I didn't have in my other channels. I think you have to find your thing, and that thing has to resonate with other people. It's got to be fairly clear. I mean, you could call it your niche, I guess. Although I think there's a danger that if you have too tight a niche, you back yourself a little bit into a creative corner. But we have to be able to let the algorithm know who they need to show your content to. And that means finding your thing. My thing now are sort of micro camper adventures. And the audience that I think are attracted to this channel tend to be people of my age, predominantly women, who are interested in having little micro adventures, possibly with a micro camper. So there's lots of scope for content, but it's quite specific in the audience. And if you know who your audience are, then the algorithm can find that audience, because ultimately the algorithm and the audience are one and the same thing, really. YouTube has one goal, and that is to put the best content in front of the right people, or the best content for those people, if you know what I mean. Not necessarily the best quality content, but the best content for that audience in front of that audience. And that is what the algorithm is, designed to do. And that depends 100% on what the audience wants. So finding your thing is so important. Finding your thing is also important because you have to enjoy the content yourself. And one of the biggest problems I had with my previous channel was that a lot of the time I wasn't enjoying the content I was making. I was making it because I thought I should be making it. Now I don't really have a strategy for Dottie's Adventures. I just kind of record what I want to record. I record the things I'm doing, and I'm doing the things I want to do. And I think that's what comes across. It's not curated content, it's not forced content, it's what I'm doing anyway. And because I'm enjoying doing it, hopefully that's what's coming across. So I think finding your thing is important. And I think being authentic is important as well, and being real. I think people relate to realness. Now, I thought I was being authentic right from the start. I wasn't trying to be something I'm not, but I wasn't succeeding. I was putting on a performance. And it's very hard not to, because it is not natural to talk into a camera. Most of us, as soon as a camera's put in front of us, we put on a persona. We go into performance mode. We act. We try to be something, and we don't necessarily do it consciously. And it's really, really hard to get out of that and to be able to be authentic. Now, I don't get this right all of the time. Even now, I still don't get this right all the time. But when I look back in the edit, I can normally see and say, "Ooh, you were performing there." And I'm getting better at not doing it, but it's still there. But I think people want authenticity. They want to see the mistakes. They want to see the real person and the vulnerability of that person. Now, that's not the same as sharing everything online, and I don't think you should, but I think you have to be authentic, and that takes time to master the art of being authentic, which sounds bizarre, doesn't it? The final thing on this point is we cannot underestimate the power of a bit of luck. You can do all of the right things, create amazing content, polished quality content, great stories, but sometimes you just have to have a bit of luck. And I think I got lucky for me, I think I got lucky in finding a hobby, a pastime, micro camper, camping, and building out Dotty just seems to be very current at the moment, very topical. I think I've got lucky in the fact that I've picked a theme for the channel that is fashionable and people want to see it. So that there is an element of luck, and I don't think we can underestimate the power of that bit of luck. All right, so point 3, my financial goals. As I've said already, I think it's a bit of an elephant in the room when we talk about the money, but the reality is most people who start a YouTube channel have financial aspirations. Not everybody, and if they don't, that's absolutely fine, but I think most people do, and I think it's perfectly okay and perfectly valid to want to be rewarded financially for the time, the effort and the expense it takes to create content. So in terms of my goals, I'll be honest, I did have aspirations to monetize this channel, but I didn't expect it to happen. It's taken me so long with my other channels to get anywhere close to monetization. I didn't really have any goals. The goals that I did have for my previous channel, being Bev, I failed to meet so regularly. I didn't really set any goals for this channel. I suppose aspirationally, if I could make maybe a couple of £100 a month from ad revenue, that enables me to continue to put that money back into my adventures and fund those adventures so that I can therefore fund creating videos. That would be perfect for me. I don't have massive aspirations to be rich from YouTube, but yeah, a couple of £100 a month would be lovely, because that would enable me to just keep having those adventures. I think many of you know, if you've watched any of my previous stuff, I retired in January this year, so I don't have an income. I have a small pension that I get from my many years working for the civil service, and that's it. So a couple of £100 extra from ad revenue would be nice, to be honest. It would help me to continue to create the content, because it does cost to create content. I have to go out and have those adventures. Now, yes, of course, it is beneficial to me. I enjoy having them, but they're not completely work free. I have to film, I have to go places, I have to edit, I have to have the equipment to be able to do that, I have to pay for the software to enable me to do that, so I have to pay for things like licensed music, I pay for my editing software. There are costs involved, so if I can be financially rewarded, then I can continue to make content without eating into my pension, which is kind of household stuff. The other element of getting monetized is things like super thanks. I mentioned this earlier. Now, super thanks are lovely. I've had one super thanks on Dotty's Adventures and I'm very grateful for it. What you might not realize though is, so let me explain. Super thanks are where you as a viewer might say, actually, I really enjoyed that video. I'm going to give a little donation, a bit like a busker getting, coppers thrown into their hat. It's just electronic. It's a way of saying thank you to the creator for the video and the content. Now, somebody very kindly gave me a $4.99 super thanks last week, and I received from YouTube £2.08, I think it was, £2.08. So of that $4.99, which I don't know what that equates to in pounds, let's say it's £4.30-ish. I don't know, I haven't looked at the conversion. Of £4.30 that they gave, I got just over £2 of that. Now, that's fine, but I think if I was giving a donation to the creator, I'd want to know that the creator actually got the bulk of the benefit from that. And actually the creator doesn't. YouTube gets the bulk of the benefit. They get more than half of that. I also have a buy me a coffee link that I put in the description of all my videos, and that's another way that people can financially reward the creator by giving a donation. If the donation is given through the buy me a coffee link, then I as a creator get 95% of that donation, and buy me a coffee take 5% commission. So while super thanks are well received, and I'm very grateful for them, and most creators are very grateful for them, the reason you'll often see things like Patreon or buy me a coffee or PayPal links is because actually that way the creator keeps the bulk of that donation. The other financial reward, sorry, it's just started to rain really heavily. The other way that creators can be rewarded financially is through paid partnerships with brands. Now, these can be really controversial. I know some people viewing really don't like the idea of creators partnering with brands. But actually, the way I see it is you wouldn't expect a painter or an artist to give their paintings away for free. You would expect they would be financially reimbursed in some way for the time and the effort and the skill and the talent that's gone into that painting. So as YouTube viewers, all of the content, or the vast majority of content on YouTube, obviously there's some that is behind a paywall, if people have memberships, but the vast majority of content is free to watch by the end user. It's not like Netflix or Amazon Prime or any of those sort of viewing subscriptions where you have to pay a monthly subscription. You can access YouTube absolutely for free. Yes, you get adverts. You don't have to have adverts. You can pay for premium and get rid of them. I do that because I don't like adverts. But ultimately, content on YouTube is free to the end user. The only reason there's content there for the end user is because creators take the time and bear the expense of creating that content so that the end user can watch it for free. So I wholeheartedly agree that YouTube should stay free for the end user. But the only way that can happen is if the creators have some way of benefiting for the time, the effort and the expense that it costs them to create the content. And that comes from a share in adverts, ad revenue, potentially those super thanks or donations, and product or paid partnerships and sponsorships, because that's how we can afford to create the content to keep it free for the end user. I hope that makes sense. So I am 100% in favour of paid partnerships. I don't see them as selling out or in some way being icky. I see it as a natural way of creating collaborations that benefit both the brand and the creator. Now, I will just caveat that with, I think they are only valid if they are authentic and done with integrity. So on my other channel, Being Bev, I regularly, even though it was only a small channel, regularly got emailed by brands wanting me to collaborate and do a paid partnership. By paid partnership doesn't necessarily mean that they pay me in cash or money. It could be a product. So quite often brands will send a product out, the creator receives that product, and they then review it or incorporate it into their videos. So it's not always a a payment in cash. Sometimes it is the product. But I used to regularly get them, and there were very, very few that I would have partnered with because I didn't believe in the brand. I didn't like the collaboration. Wouldn't have felt right. It wouldn't have felt authentic. With Dottie's Adventures, I've got 2 paid partnerships in the pipeline for videos that will come out in the future. Both products I feel I can authentically and with integrity share on my channel within the context of my vlogs, and I feel like they will benefit me, and they will also potentially benefit the end user, the watcher, the audience. So there has to be a level of integrity there, but to all intents and purposes, I think paid partnerships, I should say paid partnerships, not product partnerships, same thing I suppose, are fundamental to enabling creators to continue to create content. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, the last point, because this is still going on, my last one was 40 minutes. I thought I could keep this one a bit shorter, the one that had no sound. Last point, number 4, should you start a YouTube channel? Right, well, fundamentally, if you want to, there's no should or shouldn't, and who the hell am I to tell you what you should do anyway? However, do I think it's a good idea to start a YouTube channel? I think it is, if it's an aspiration of yours. Yeah, 100%. I think there are so many benefits to having a YouTube channel that go way beyond the monetization element. I think for me, the personal growth and the skills growth that I've had over the last 4 years learning how to do YouTube have been invaluable. I've learned editing skills, videoing skills, I've learned storytelling skills, I've learned strategy and how to read analytics. I'm not an analytical person, so that's been a big skill. I've pushed myself out of my comfort zone in so many ways, not just in the technical side of learning how to do YouTube, but in the content creation itself. So, going out and finding content has pushed me out of my comfort zone. Things like getting Dottie and the conversion and going off and having little adventures on my own have pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I probably wouldn't have done those things if I didn't have the incentive of, well, you need to create a YouTube video, or you've said you're going to create a YouTube video. So the personal growth is really hard to really put into words just how big that is and how amazing it is. Not least of which, as we get older, it's important to keep the little grey cells working. So anything that forces us to keep learning and keep growing and keep developing, I think is important. The second factor, of course, is the financial incentive. If, like me, you're retired and a couple of extra £100 a month would be a bit nice, then obviously there is that financial element as well. Should you go into YouTube purely for the financials? Nope, because there are far easier ways to make a buck or two than doing YouTube. But if as a byproduct of doing YouTube you can make a little bit of money from it, then why not? The third fact, I think, in terms of should you, or is it a good idea, is about leaving a legacy. I love the idea that when I'm in my 80s, hopefully in my 90s, I can sit and look back at the videos that I've made either on this channel or the stuff that I'm doing with Mark over on The Good Life, and see what we were doing when we were in our go-go years. I think that will just be so cool. A bit like, I remember my my mum and dad looking through old photographs and the nostalgia there. I just think it's going to be so cool when I'm older to be able to look back at these videos with a sense of nostalgia. But also I have children, and at the moment a grandchild. I may have other grandchildren along the line, who knows. But I want them to be able to look at the videos I'm making now when I'm older, and for them to remember who I was now, and not just remember me when I'm very, very old and wrinkly, more wrinkly than I am now. So that legacy, I think, is a real incentive for me to want to keep doing YouTube. I also think, if you've got a hobby that other people might be interested in, share it. You could inspire other people to do things. I've been blown away by how many people have commented on my videos on Dottie's Adventures saying, oh, it's been so inspirational seeing you build out Dottie. You've made me, take the next step. I'm doing my research. I'm going to go and get a micro camper, and I'm going to get out and do things. I didn't set out, I guess, to be inspirational, but you never know who's watching and who might find your content inspires them to go and do something for themselves as well. So, there are so many benefits. So should you, if you want to, should you have a YouTube channel? Only if you want to. What I would say is if you've got aspirations but you're a bit scared, just do it. Just do it. Yes, I think you should in that case. I don't think you should if it's not of any interest to you. But if you're sitting there on the fence thinking, oh, I would love to do a YouTube channel. I would love to do, to do YouTube. Just go and do it. Yes, you should. Absolutely. Because you'll get so much from it. Anyway, I'm going to keep this under 40 minutes. I hope you found that useful. If you are still here, thank you. I know this is not my normal Dottie's Adventures content, so I do appreciate if you left ages ago, although if you left ages ago you won't be seeing this, so it's irrelevant. If you're still here, thank you very much. If you have found it interesting, helpful, useful, informative, any of the above, do me a favour, hit the like button. I've already talked about how it helps with the algorithm, and if you're not already subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. I'd be really, really appreciative. And I'm going to leave it there. I will talk to you all again soon. Lots of love. Take care. Bye for now.